Hello everyone, my name's Chris and I run the website Morse and Lewis and Endeavour.com, and welcome to my review of the Colin Dexter novel Service of All the Dead. Now before I get into that, just a huge thank you for continued support from my Patreons and subscribers. I hope you enjoy this review, and just a warning, there will be some spoilers in this review. Now, Service of All the Dead is the fourth Morse novel, published in 1979, so 4 years after the first Morse novel in 1975. So Service of All the Dead is structurally probably quite an ambitious novel in regards to the previous three, in that I feel Colin is growing as a writer, and it comes across in this particular novel, especially, as I said, in its structure. Now, the novel is set primarily in and around a fictional Oxford church called St Frieswide's, and I'm sure I butchered that pronunciation. Apologies for that. The story revolves around a mysterious death during a religious service, leading to a tangled weave of deceit, mistaken identity and multiple murders, and the emphasis is on multiple murders. Now, the novel opens with Morse somewhat reluctantly investigating the seemingly straightforward murder of a church warden, Harry Josephs, at the church previously mentioned. Now, a tramp is initially suspected, but Morse's keen intellect is piqued by the discovery that Josephs was first poisoned with morphine before being stabbed. This sets in motion a complex and multi-layered investigation involving the close-knit and often secretive members of a parish, leading to a tangled web of deceit, mistaken identity, and, as I already said, multiple murders. Now, as Morse and, as always, the reliable Sergeant Lewis delve deeper, a series of further deaths occur amongst those who attended a particular service, including the vicar, the church organist, his young son, and Joseph's wife. This leads Morse to suspect a wider conspiracy, and that everyone present at that fateful church service might be in danger. The narrative unfolds with, as often happens in Morse novels, many red herrings, intricate connections between the characters, and the exploration of various motives rooted in jealousy, hatred and financial desperation. Morse also has to unravel a mystery which is steeped in, secrets, betrayal and long-standing grudges. The major themes of the novel, though there is many, are religion and morality. The setting in a church naturally brings in themes of sin, redemption, and hypocrisy. The contrast between moral posturing and actual behaviour is central to the novel. Now, the novel is uniquely structured into 4 parts, each bearing a title reminiscent of books from the Bible. You have the first book of Chronicles, the second book of Chronicles, the book of Ruth, and the book of Revelation. Now, each section adopts a slightly different narrative style, and this is what I was talking about earlier about Colin becoming more ambitious and what he's doing in writing his novels. They've got a different narrative style, each section adding ultimately to the richness and complexity of the reading experience. For instance, the third part is presented as a statement from a key witness, while the final section largely takes the form of court proceedings. Now, as I said, there's lots of deception and mixed identity, etc. Characters wear metaphorical and maybe even at times literal masks. Identity swaps and impersonations are crucial to the plot. There's also, quite prevalent in the novel in many ways, loneliness and alienation are brought to the fore. Morse, as always, is depicted as a lonely figure, brilliant but emotionally stunted, The novel also delves into the psychological toll of guilt and isolation on various characters. Now, the structure and innovation, as I mentioned before, is played with by Colin in Service of All the Dead. You have sort of mixed stage directions, the narrative prose, the police reports, and you get different character perspectives as well. This structural complexity adds a layer of intellectual stimulation. The solution is very typical in Colin Dexter novels, is far from obvious and relies on Morse's astute observation, and also astute observation from the reader as well. Colin's understanding of human psychology and his ability to piece together seemingly disparate clues is always a major part of his novels, in particular from this novel. The truth involves mistaken identity, elaborate deception, and the unmasking of a killer actually hiding in plain sight. Strengths of the novel are complex plotting. Now, sometimes complex plotting is a negative, not a strength, is a weakness, but not with Colin Dexter. Colin's ability to juggle multiple threads while maintaining coherence is impressive. Service of All the Dead is a cleverly constructed plot filled with twists and turns that keep the reader guessing until the very end. It certainly did with this reader. The layers of deception and interconnectedness of the crimes are hallmarks of Dexter's skill. And what also Colin's able to create is atmosphere. The Oxford church setting is richly described, creating a haunting and claustrophobic backdrop. And of course you've got the Oxford setting, particularly the enclosed world of the parish and its members. That's vividly portrayed, and it contributes to the overall sense of mystery and intrigue. The church itself pretty much becomes a character. It's imbued with secrets and hidden tensions. Again, Dexter's prose is elegant. It's sprinkled with literary allusions and, of course, dry humour. Dexter's writing is also infused with a subtle wit and, of course, keen observations about human nature and social dynamics, particularly within the somewhat insular and tradition-bound setting of the Oxford church community. There's, of course, a moral ambiguity, and unlike some traditional mysteries, this novel doesn't offer a neat moral resolution. The characters are flawed, and so justice is not always served cleanly. Now, there is maybe some potential weaknesses. Going back to what I said about the complex plot, that might be off-putting for some people. It might be just too complex, and they might just find intricate plot and the large cast of characters somewhat confusing at times, maybe requiring careful attention to detail to follow all the threads or rereading previous pages. And sometimes, honestly, it can make the narrative feel disjointed at times, but it doesn't break the novel, as it were. The pacing, well, the detailed unfolding of the mystery is a strength for many. Some readers maybe find the pacing a little slow in parts, as Morse meticulously gathers and analyses clues. The multiple twists and characters might be, again, like the plot, etc., rather overwhelming for some readers. Now, Morse's personal life is looked at a bit further in the novel, and while it offers insights, Morse's personal interactions, particularly his infatuation with a woman involved in the case, can occasionally feel somewhat underdeveloped or even can come across as slightly obsessive for some readers. Some depictions, particularly of women in class, definitely reflect 1970s norms and might feel outdated, but it should still be read with an open mind. Now, in comparison to the TV episode's plot is more streamlined. Much of the intricate structural framing is dropped in favour of a more linear narrative. There's fewer characters, some minor characters are eliminated or they're merged to avoid confusion. Several plot twists from the novel, especially the more elaborate identity frauds, are either softened or omitted. The number of murders is reduced, but not by many, and the story is resolved more neatly and clearly, in keeping with television conventions. In regards to Ruth Rawlinson, in the novel, she's a much more morally ambiguous character with a murky past, whose relationship with Morse is tinged with manipulation and vulnerability. Well, in the TV adaptation, Ruth Rawlinson's character is softened, romanticised, and her relationship with Morse becomes more clearly a flirtation rather than a dark entitlement. In the novel, regards to theme and tone, much more darker and more introspective than the TV episode. While in the novel, the themes of religious hypocrisy, identity and moral ambiguity are central, they're not so much in the TV episode. And in the novel, justice is portrayed as imperfect. But in the TV episode, that's not true. While still serious, the tone is more procedural and conventional. The themes are more explored on a surface level, and justice is clearly served at the end of the episode on TV. And there's much focus on the church's symbolic weight and moral decay. That's pretty. A lot of that is reduced in the TV episode. Again, with the ending and resolution, as already mentioned, the novel concludes with a morally ambiguous twist. Not all culprits face legal consequences. One actual character escapes, leaving Morse and Lewis uneasy. The resolution is intellectual, though, and leaves readers questioning justice and motive, which is part of what it's trying to do. In the TV episode, though, it offers a more conclusive ending, with Morse identifying the murderer and ensuring he is apprehended. And it leaves viewers with a clearer moral resolution, of course. The novel, of course, maybe not of course, but I think yes, of course, is more ambitious and thematically rich of the two, comparing it to the TV episode. Appeals to readers who enjoy literary experimentation and morally complex mysteries. The TV adaptation, of course, is compelling, is a pared-down version tailored for a mainstream audience, prioritising clarity and pacing over philosophical depth. No, both are, of course, successful in their mediums, but the novel, for me, offers a deeper, more intellectually challenging experience. And what for me helps the novel being better than the TV adaptation is the time frame. In the TV adaptation, the multiple murders happen over the course of a few days, while in the novel, the multiple murders happen over the course of a year. Now, as a final assessment, Service of All the Dead is a compelling and intellectually stimulating addition to the Inspector Morse series. It showcases Colin Dexter's growing confidence as a crime writer, delivering a complex and satisfying mystery with very well developed characters and a strong sense of place. The novel's unique structure and stylistic flourishes elevate it above a straightforward whodunit, making it an absolutely rewarding read for fans of classic detective fiction and maybe even non-fans of classic detective fiction. It provides a deeper understanding of the enigmatic Inspector Morse and solidifies the engaging dynamic between him and Sergeant Lewis, which would become a cornerstone of the beloved series. For those new to Morse, while it stands alone as a compelling mystery, reading the earlier novels might provide a richer context for the evolution of the characters and their relationship. So thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you've read the book, do you agree with my review? And if not, what don't you agree with? Let me know in the comments either on my website or my YouTube channel. If you haven't read the novel but have seen the TV episode, would you now maybe give the novel a chance? And give you a chance, of course, to compare the two. And again, and reading the novel might even give you I think it does, give you a better understanding of the TV episode. So again, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you again for the continued support from everybody on my Patreon, my website, my Twitch channel, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Thank you all so much for continuing to support me and continue to support the Morse universe as well, and Colin Dexter's memory, of course. So thank you everyone. Now I'm also you can go to my website for a more full comprehensive review, in that rather than just this video review, I'll also mention lots about the novel itself and the differences regards to the TV episode and similarities, and also mention locations, etc. in the novel. So thank you for listening, take care, and hopefully I will see you soon.